Welcome friends to my new channel with another video. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please make sure to hit subscribe button. Our story is by Olivets. My F23 husband, M31, told his brother that he thinks his ex was prettier, and now I feel so sad. Last night they were playing video games and I decided to go to bed, but a few minutes later I went downstairs because I wanted a glass of water. And apparently I didn't even make noise, because when I was going to the kitchen I heard that they were talking about me, and I clearly heard my F23 husband, M31, say that he thinks his ex-girlfriend is prettier than me, and that now that I'm pregnant the only attractive thing I have are my boobs. His brother, M28, laughed and asked him if he thinks I'm pretty, and my husband said she's cute, and when he said that they both laughed, and he was like, but I love her, even though she's not pretty like his ex's name. And I felt so sad, because ever since I got pregnant I have been feeling really bad about my appearance. I practically didn't gain weight, but as a teenager I had an ed, and even when I'm recovered it is not easy for me to see how much my body is changing. And I feel pretty when he tells me that I look good or that I look pretty, but now I know that this is all a lie, because he just think I'm cute and not pretty. I went to the kitchen and made noise, so that he knew I was there and heard everything. He heard me and followed me to the kitchen, and when he saw me cry he asked me what was wrong. I told him that I had heard everything, and he hugged me and apologized and said he wasn't serious, that he thinks I'm pretty, and that made me feel even worse, because I know he was just trying to make me feel better. I told him that if he thought his ex was prettier, he shouldn't have broken up with her, and he told me that I was acting like a kid, that he was just joking. I've known him for years, and I know he wasn't joking, and that if he broke up with her, it was because he didn't love her anymore, that beauty means nothing to him, and that he is more attracted to personality and other qualities. He was basically telling me that I'm ugly, but that my way of being attracts him. So I went to our room and cried myself to sleep, because I have never felt so sad. And he has been apologizing since then, but I said that it is not easy to forget what he said. Maybe I am overreacting, but I'm really hurt. How can I forget what I heard, or how can I learn to live with what I hear? Our story is by F23. How do I tell my stepmom that I want to call her mom after I acted like such a brat as a teen? I 21, lost my mother at the age of 5 due to complications in my brother's birth. I was put into therapy around that time to cope with the loss, and my dad stayed single until I was 10 when he met Nancy. My father told me when he started dating as he didn't want to surprise me, and I was okay with it. I missed my mother, but it must have been worse for my father back then raising us alone. He introduced us to her, and she was nice. She wasn't pushy or anything and was just interested in our hobbies. I actually liked her. I was expecting one of those crazy women you hear about in stories, but Nancy wasn't like that. She often told us to think of her as an aunt instead of the woman he's dating our father during those early meetups. I was a bit hesitant because my friends always told me those stories about bad stepmoms or dads who become evil when they marry your dad or mom. Well, they got married when I was 16. During that time she really did act more like an aunt or a big sister to me than a mother. My little brother called her mom pretty early on. Since he never knew our real mom, it used to bug me that he was calling another woman mother, and I sometimes got into arguments with him over it, since despite knowing our real mom is gone he still called her mom. I still saw my therapist every once in a while due to the loss. The grief is gone, but I still miss her. She said the reason I was acting out was probably due to feeling like my birth mother was being replaced, which yeah, I did feel like that. Dad was remarried. My brother was calling her mom and Nancy told us she was pregnant with our new sister around that time, so it wasn't a good time for me. I started acting out and being rude to her. Looking back, she never deserved what I did. She never once tried to act like my mother, just a concerned family member. We used to be close when I was little, and just seeing her there in mom's place just felt wrong to me as a teen. I kept pulling away, ignoring my dad, brother and new sister, because they were on her side. I was really stupid. Nancy kept trying. She never tried to tell me off for my behavior, but she did punish me, which I used to throw back at her, that she's trying to be my mom. After I graduated HS I started community college until the pandemic made everything crazy. I was living with roommates, my HSBFs, at the time, who I'd rant about my bad stepmom too. They supported me, but they told me I was overreacting. They've met my stepmom, and she's not as bad as I made her out to be. I started wondering why they were taking her side. Last Christmas was when I had the realization that Nancy wasn't the problem. I didn't go home for Christmas, both due to the bug, but also due to being ashamed of myself. Looking back, Nancy just tried her best. She did the opposite of what I read on Reddit that step-parents do, and I still hated her for it. I haven't been able to see my therapist due to the bug, but I'm gonna go back as soon as I can. I have a lot of apologizing to do during Christmas this year, but how do I tell Nancy I'm sorry? My little sister barely knows me due to how I acted. Thinking back, Nancy was my mom. She was there for my first crush, my first breakup. She did my hair and outfit for every special occasion. She always celebrated my birthday with me by visiting my mom's grave together. I was so afraid of loving Nancy that I treated her like garbage. How do I even begin to apologize or tell her that she is my mother and I want to call her as such? I have a lot of years to make up for. Our story is by F130. Should I, 28F, reach out to my husband, 28, after I lied to him, but he ran out when I had a miscarriage? Got removed from another sub, so thought I'd try here. If this is even the right place to ask, but I need some unbiased opinions because I have no idea what to feel. I, 28, married my husband, 28, 6 years ago after only knowing him for a few weeks. It felt like love at first sight and the first year was incredible. The only thing was, he is idealistic and sometimes he would look at me like he was disappointed I didn't live up to his ideal woman. I would ask, but he would always say I was overthinking it, that he loved me unconditionally. But then, with bigger things, like when we'd fight about principles etc., he'd look so disappointed and then disappear for a few days, just like that, to get some space and process his emotions. He told me it's not because he's disappointed in me, but what else was I supposed to think? I asked him if I could stop running away anytime there was conflict and he said he would try, but that staying around people when his emotions are high makes him lash out in ways he regrets, so he'd rather leave and cool off. About a year and I got pregnant. He was so excited and he constantly talked about wanting a lot of kids. But I soon miscarried and he looked so disappointed and sad for weeks. He didn't disappear, but we were distant for a while. We eventually made up, but after a few months I got pregnant again. This time I couldn't tell him. I wanted to be sure I'd not miscarry again. But then I did. Over the next 2 years I miscarried 3 more times and didn't tell him. He worked long hours. When he'd bring up children, I'd sort of weasel out of the convo before we could get deep into it. Anyway, with my 5th pregnancy, I miscarried again. But this time he was there when I started bleeding and he insisted we go to the hospital. I finally told him about the miscarriages I'd hid from him. He didn't talk after that, but when the doctor came in he asked her if I was okay and then he just got up and left. My Sil was with me. He was just gone, Mia, for days and I cried so much. The idea I disappointed him yet again was literally the worst thing I've ever felt. I did a lot of thinking and when he finally came home I told him we should separate if I was going to stay sane. I'd already packed my things and went to live with my sister. He tried calling me a few times but when I didn't pick up he stopped calling. A couple months later my Sil tells me he joined the Navy, they're a military family. He's been away for nearly 3 years now and none of his family have really heard from him besides that he's safe. I keep wondering if I should reach out to him and apologize and try to make up. I still love him so much, but I don't know if I can deal with living with him and being a disappointment. My sister says I'm being selfish and punishing him for my pain when it isn't his fault, that if I love him, I should try to fix things. My sisters-in-law both think he has been a huge ass and the fact that he just left his life when I pushed him away is unforgivable. I don't know what to do, but if I could know if he was in the wrong or if I was I might be able to think more clearly.